Hi, I'm Brian. Have you ever opened the CrashPlan app and seen the error message, unable to connect to background service? Let's talk about what that means. There are a couple of different components that make up CrashPlan on your computer. The one you'll see most often is the CrashPlan app, which is the user interface that you use to manage your backups. Another part is the CrashPlan service that runs in the background. This is what does the actual backup work. If you launch the CrashPlan app and see a message that it cannot connect to this background service, CrashPlan isn't going to be able to perform any backups. We need to get this resolved, so let's talk about what might cause this and what you can do to fix it. It isn't a regular occurrence, but sometimes the CrashPlan service gets stopped by the OS for, let's say, nebulous reasons. This can be frustrating, but it doesn't indicate a larger issue, and can be quickly resolved. In this case, you'll just need to restart the CrashPlan service. We've got another video that covers this topic, so I won't go into depth on it here, but you can find instructions for how to restart in that video, or on our support site. If a restart doesn't resolve the issue, it is possible that the CrashPlan service is running out of memory. By default, CrashPlan is set to dynamically use 25% of the physical memory on your device, but sometimes, particularly if you have a large amount of data or number of files selected for backup, it needs to be assigned more. The solution in this case is to increase the amount of memory that is available to the CrashPlan service. To do this, you'll need to open the CrashPlan command line interface. Unfortunately, if the CrashPlan service cannot run, you cannot log in and cannot access the CLI. To get around this, we'll need to perform a complete uninstall, removing CrashPlan and then removing the remaining CrashPlan identity file that is left behind. Once we've done this, we'll reinstall the CrashPlan app and log in, but not immediately go through the device replacement process. If we do, then CrashPlan will rebuild its local cache, which is what gets loaded into memory and causes the high memory usage that crashes the service. Instead, after logging in, we'll then open the CrashPlan CLI. You can double-click on the CrashPlan logo in the app to open the CLI, or you can use the keyboard shortcut that is specific to your OS. Once you've opened the CLI, enter the command java space mx space 2048, space restart, then press enter. The number here, 2048, is the amount of memory we would recommend for backing up 2 terabytes of data or 2 million files. You may decide to allocate a different number based on your file selection and available memory. You can find more information in the support article titled CrashPlan app does not run. Once you press enter, the app should disappear. Give it a moment, then reopen it. When you do, it should bring you to the new device dialog. Choose Replace Existing, then select the device that represents your current computer, and click Continue. Skip the file transfer, as this isn't a new device, and the files already exist on this machine. Transfer the settings to your new device, sign back in, and your device should be good to resume backing up. If your file selection isn't that large, or the above steps haven't resolved the issue, it's possible that you aren't seeing a memory issue, but that CrashPlan isn't able to access the necessary ports on your computer. CrashPlan requires the use of some network communication ports on the computer, but sometimes it is prevented from accessing them. Most often, when we see this, it is because a security program is blocking access. You can determine if this is the case by temporarily disabling your security software, then attempting to run CrashPlan again. If you find that this was the cause, we recommend adding an exception for the CrashPlan app that allows incoming and outgoing communication. You may need to consult the documentation for your security software for instructions on how to do this. On Windows, you can also set the CrashPlan service to run with a delayed start, getting around any temporary conflicts with other software during the startup. Open services.msc, then double-click on the CrashPlan service entry. In the dialog box that appears, make sure the startup type is set to Automatic Delayed Start. If the Start button isn't grayed out, click that now to start the CrashPlan service. Click Apply to save the settings and close the window. Finally, there's an edge case scenario that can occur in Linux if your language is not set to English when you install CrashPlan. In this case, CrashPlan will work fine when you install it, but when you restart the computer, CrashPlan will fail to connect to its background service. If you run into this, you can manually start the CrashPlan service, but will need to do so after every reboot. Instead, we recommend you uninstall CrashPlan, change the system language to English, install CrashPlan, and then change the language back to whatever language you were using. All of the troubleshooting steps mentioned here can be found on our support site in the article titled Cannot Connect to Background Service. You can also find further information on the various issues we went over, or steps to take if you have installed CrashPlan for an individual user rather than for the default of all users. You now have a number of steps for responding to the Cannot Connect to Background Service error, and know where to find further information on the topic. Our support team is standing by if you run into further trouble. We're always happy to help.